Yeah. Answer my question. Is it because that NIH was actually helping to fund, EcoHealth was funding gain-of-function research in
No,
Wuhan?
I believe that's an inaccurate assessment.
And in fact, your boss misled Congress and testified falsely that NIH and the EcoHealth had never conducted gain-of-function research in Wuhan, correct?
No, that's incorrect.
He did testify that.
I believe, sir, that what he testified.
Guys, basically, do not believe your lying ears and eyes, okay? What Hawley is saying at this moment here is absolutely correct here. They called the lab leaks a conspiracy. Then emails came out. And now Hawley is asking why Americans were censored for saying it.
You served as the chief of staff to Francis Collins for 4 years, is that right?
That's correct, Senator.
From 2017 to 2021, is that correct?
Yes, that's
correct.
correct.
Right through the heart of the pandemic.
Yes.
I noticed that Dr. Collins was intensely interested in discrediting the lab leak. I guess we'll call it a hypothesis. I think it's probably a little bit stronger than that now that we know something of what our intelligence agencies have long assessed. Last month, I had the chance to speak with Dr. Robert Gary, who sat right where you are, who co-authored that really, frankly, shameless propaganda piece, the Proximal Origin paper, which infamously stated that the SARS-CoV-2 is not a laboratory construct or a purposely manipulated virus. It went on to say it could not possibly have come from a lab. This, of course, we now know is not what multiple U.S. intelligence agencies assessed. What interests me is that your office was very involved in that paper, which was supposed to be an independent piece of scientific analysis, but Dr. Collins actually called Dr. Gary when he was supposedly working on the paper on February 1st, 2020. Is it normal for scientists who are supposedly doing independent research to get together and talk about how their conclusions are going to come out?
Thank you for the question, Senator Hawley. I think in general, yes, it is quite common for scientists across biomedical research fields, while they're in the process of doing research, to discuss with colleagues and other scientists. I do not believe that that is an accurate description of the conversations that took place.
Well, tell us what.
Bro, I don't believe a single thing that you say here, guys.
What were the nature of the conversations?
So, while I was not present for those conversations, my understanding based on
I think it's like the Valley Girl California accent that's like throwing me off right now, guys.
readouts is there was a lot of interest in the origins and current understanding of SARS-CoV-2. And I think it's important when we're talking about the term lab leak theory to differentiate between the idea of a virus escaping from a lab, which is a biosafety violation, versus a virus that is engineered or manipulated in the lab and then escapes.
Yeah, and your boss and Dr. Fauci tried to discredit both of those things. They said that the lab was absolutely not involved. We know that at the time that this paper was supposedly being written, because we now have the private correspondence from Dr. Fauci, your boss said that it was a very destructive conspiracy.
Of course it was.
To think that there was a lab involved. So he's on the phone with a scientist, quote unquote scientist, who's supposedly writing an independent paper. By the way, Dr. Gary testified under oath that he was coming to his conclusions while this paper was being written. He was discovering the answers. But we now know that your boss was on the phone with him saying this is a very destructive conspiracy before the paper was even written. My question is, why was your office so intent on pushing to the public the idea that this could not possibly have been a lab issue? Is it because of the NIH's role in funding gain-of-function research at the lab? Is that the reason why?
So, Senator Hawley, I would say that in the event of any new and emerging infectious disease, if you've ever gone through a tabletop exercise in biosecurity.
Yeah. Answer my question. Is it because that NIH was actually helping to fund, EcoHealth was funding gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
No, I believe that's an inaccurate assessment.
And in fact, your boss misled Congress and testified falsely that NIH and the EcoHealth had never conducted gain-of-function research in Wuhan, correct?
No, that's incorrect.
He did testify that.
I believe, sir, that what he testified.
Guys, basically, do not believe your lying ears and eyes, okay? What Hawley is saying at this moment here is absolutely correct here. He testified. period. All right. Saying that basically all of what he is now asking you, like, legitimately happened, and you're here now with the most Valley Girl Cali accent I've ever heard in my entire life here. All right. Denying all of the facts that are in front of your face. Okay.
Two was that there was no evidence at that time that NIH was funding research that met the scope of the P3CO policy, which I want to differentiate from the term gain of function research.
Oh, of course,
which is a
this is the
broader
classic.
term.
This is the classic.
Okay.
Now that we've lied, now that
Semantics.
you have, in your office, lied to the American people for years, told the American people that a lab leak was a very destructive conspiracy. That's your boss's statement while you were his chief of staff. Of course, we now know that that was the conspiracy to hide this from the American people, to censor people who went out and said, you know what, actually, maybe this is a lab leak. Your office, Dr. Fauci and others, tried to actively censor them. There was a propaganda effort that this paper was the center of, and now everybody says, oh well, we just weren't sure at the time. We didn't really know. You knew exactly what you were doing. You were actively misleading the American people the entire time. Get this, after that paper, it's really an opinion piece, was published, your boss then says to Dr. Fauci that he had really hoped that the paper would settle this. Is there anything more that we can do to shut down this destructive conspiracy? This is in April of 2020. And then Dr. Fauci went to the White House podium and said that absolutely there's no way that this could have come from a lab. Let me come back to my original question. Why was your office so intent on shutting down any talk about this being involved with a lab? Why? I don't understand it. Why the hysteria?
So, Senator Hawley, I will say that my understanding of the situation is that
She's still not giving a straight answer, guys.
no one at NIH, including Dr. Collins, Dr. Fauci, myself, ever suggested that there wasn't the possibility that a virus had escaped from a lab.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I think that
Guys,
in-
what's
let me just stop
happening
you
here?
right there. I cannot have these lies
Clown
just
world.
continue to be
Clown
told
world,
over and
guys.
over again. Sorry. And wrong. That's false. You people repeatedly said it could not have come from a lab. Your boss said it was a very destructive conspiracy. Not that it was unlikely,
Right.
not that it was not the best idea, a conspiracy.
a
And
lie,
based on
guys.
that, you censored, and your administration that you worked for actively censored scientists, journalists, and what we now know is
Everyone,
our own
guys.
intelligence agencies at the same time were concluding and briefing members of Congress that it likely was from a lab. I mean, it's extraordinary. And now you've been caught red-handed because you thought that the rest of us wouldn't find out. You thought that the public would always be kept in the dark. And as it turns out, we now know these emails have become public that you were pushing this propaganda effort and yet claiming the mantle of science. Don't you see that what you have done has set back the respectability and integrity of science by generations? You were acting as propagandists. Do you regret your role in any of this?
So, Senator Hawley, I don't think you've characterized
Do you
my
regret your
or the
role in any of the
NIH.
misleading of the public? Do you regret your role in your office saying that a lab nexus here is a very destructive conspiracy? Do you regret your role in helping censor millions of Americans who were kicked off social media, who were disciplined at work for saying that maybe a lab was involved, which we now know the FBI thinks is the fact the case? Do you regret it?
I do not believe I ever had the role that you're describing.
Do
Guys,
you regret
there's not a single
anything
answer
that you
happening
did
here.
during this period? Do you regret not speaking out? Do you regret not advising your boss to temper his comments? Do you regret not opposing the censorship? Do you regret
Anything?
it? You're in a position of tremendous influence.
I do not believe censorship took place, sir.
Oh,
You
God,
don't believe
guys.
censorship took place?
Buddies,
do not.
what's happening here?
What world are you living in?
This is nonsense, guys.
Tell that to the scientists who basically lost their credentials. Tell that to the people who were kicked off of social media and banned
Bro.
because they asked about a lab leak. You don't believe censorship took place?
Yes. All right. Like, I don't know what type of game we're playing here, but this is like one of these don't believe your lying eyes type of scenarios here. That there are some people within our government who, in fact, will consistently call things kind of by default conspiracies while knowing the literal truth, but they just do not want the masses to know here. All right. Understand this here. Our employees, understand this here. All right. Are telling us what we know as true, or what we may perceive is the truth here. You know that it's the truth, but you do not want it. You don't want us to know that it's the truth here. All right. I think there's a lot of, I think when it comes down to it, I think it's more like a mass hysteria type of thing here. Because if you start to believe that this is even like a possibility, that could make the CDC and other organizations that hold like a lot of super nasty stuff. All right. Kind of stop getting, I don't know, funding potentially, because then the masses will start to believe what? That it's a possibility. It may be easier for the NIH and along with other, health oriented organizations that hold a lot of like chemical nasty stuff, guys, to keep people in the dark. But when people start realizing that there is some truth here that circles around it, like there was this one nasty incident here over there in Wuhan, right? Specifically, right? Where something leaked out of the lab, guys, right? Guys, it just sounds like a funding issue. They don't want the American people to believe that it's even a possibility that this could happen in the United States of America. It feels like that. But guys, again, I'm just a random guy on the internet. I'm super blunt here. But this hearing tells us immediately that there are other conspiracies out there that are going to have the same exact end story probably in a decade, guys. All right. That's kind of what we're encountering. But to ban people or to basically silence them on these platforms here, that's a bit rough, guys. All right. That's a rough ask. Like, do the people that got banned years ago get to kind of give a rebuttal, get back onto the platforms that they got banned from for talking about something that they're proving right now? I wonder. All right. Let me know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Seriously. But listen, if you guys are new here, please like and subscribe. And in the meantime, guys, I'll go and catch you in the next one.